This is the plaintiff, Robin Russell French. He says he sold a very expensive safe to the defendant, and due to a technical problem, the defendant couldn't use it. He refunded the defendant in full, but now the louse refuses to send it back to him. He can't keep the safe for free. He's owed $2,000, and he's suing for just that here today. This is the defendant, Ajmer Singh. He says he couldn't open the safe because the plaintiff didn't have a bill of sale, and the safe company wouldn't help him because he couldn't prove the safe wasn't stolen. He explained all of this to eBay, and they refunded his $1,000 purchase price, but not the $500 he spent on shipping. He has no problem sending the safe back to the plaintiff, but he's not willing to pay another $500 to do it. He's accused of not playing it safe. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $700 for a full refund on his shipping and storage fees.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. I'm Harvey Levin. So the plaintiff sold the defendant a safe and got stiffed. The defendant is saying the plaintiff didn't own that safe. And when the defendant called the safe company to get the combination, they said, we can't do that because the plaintiff never owned the safe. It's the case of not playing it safe.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. French, you were selling a safe, correct? How big was this safe?
It was pretty big. I'd say about waist height, like 3 feet tall, 2.5 feet wide or so.
Okay. How much did it weigh?
Geez, a bit. I'd say almost 200 pounds.
Right. And how did you come into possession of the safe?
Initially, there was a 7-Eleven that owned the safe, and when they switched locations, they left it there. And the guy that was opening a restaurant in that location hired, a demolition team to come in and remove everything, and they couldn't remove the safe. So the demo team, their, foreman, I guess, posted an ad on Craigslist saying, "Come take the safe. If you can get it out, it's yours for free." And I responded.
Right. So you end up putting it on Craigslist, and you called it a recovered safe. What does that mean to you, recovered?
Well, under the context of, and it was eBay, just to be, under the context of selling it for, no worries, for parts and not working, recovered should mean that it may not be working, or that at least there shouldn't be a bill of sale.
Do you have your ad, and does your ad say it doesn't work?
Well, it says it hasn't been tested, but that it could be working 100%.
Let's see your ad. Tidal 6 with tube vend. What is vend?
Well, this is more than just a normal safe. It can act as sort of an ATM of sorts. So if employees need change or need to deposit stuff, they can use it kind of as like a mini on-site bank.
Mr. Singh, did he ever tell you it wasn't working?
No. I assumed it would have worked out for us as long as there was evidence of purchase.
How much did you sell this for?
I sold it for $1,000.
Why would anybody pay $1,000 for a safe that doesn't work and just for parts? Is there anywhere on your ad where you can show me that it says this safe doesn't work and it's just for parts?
If you look at the top of the ad, it's a listing category within eBay, which is for parts not working. And so by default, anything you list under that category should be assumed not to work without some degree of trouble.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Singh. You get the safe, and what happens? You pay for the shipping, so you pay $500 extra, right, to get it shipped to you, and then what happens?
So I came in, I contacted Tidal, which is manufacturer. I asked them to help us with passwords. They said, yeah, that's fine, we can help you with that, but they need to know whose it is. They say it belongs to 7-Eleven. If you're not an employee of an 7-Eleven, we cannot give out any passwords. So I reached back to Mr. French, asking for a bill of sale, assuming he either owns it or he has evidence of purchasing it from 7-Eleven. He couldn't produce it, so our communication, I tried to pass it on to Tidal, but they said no, they can't help.
Because their worry is that it's a stolen safe.
Exactly.
That's what their worry is. Okay, so Mr. French, I hear you describe to me in detail how it is that you got a hold of it. And obviously, if that's accurate, it's completely legitimate. Did you ever contact Tidal and try to see if you could work through this and get the thing working? Because I think all they care about is that it's not stolen. So if you could put together the pieces, like you're saying now, that 7-Eleven left it behind, so you would get an affidavit from the wrecking crew saying, this was abandoned property, we put an ad, and this gentleman answered the ad. If you could get that, it sounds like Tidal would have been satisfied. Why didn't you just go ahead and get that?
I did everything I could. I could reach out to Tidal. I was on the phone with them for days, literally trying to work this out in some way or another.
What did they tell you?
They say, unless you can produce proof of sale. And so another thing that I'm also trying at this point is trying to reach out to the original 7-Eleven owner, which I did for half a day, trying to track this guy down at his new location and couldn't. But I really feel that I did everything I could to make this happen. And just to touch on one thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And just like eBay, I feel the same way. There's no way that this gentleman bought that for parts. You don't think that. He doesn't think that. eBay doesn't think that. And neither do I. Okay? He needed that thing to work. And so what is it you do, Mr. Singh? You end up contesting it with eBay? Like, did you contact Mr. French and Mr. French said tough? Like, how did that work out?
So I explained to Mr. French, it's not panning out for us. We need to get those passwords reset in order for it to work for us. So I told him the grounds that now I look like I got stolen safe. I'm trying to break into somebody's safe. So we can't own it. We have to get our money back, and you can either come pick up the safe, or we can put it we can pack it for shipping. You can send me a shipping slip, and we'll ship it. Help you ship it back to you.
So, Mr. Singh, you get the safe. It doesn't work. Everybody's got texts back and forth, messages back and forth. You end up contesting it with eBay. You win, and then Mr. French. There's a series of communications which are kind of angry, where you're saying, send back my safe. You are affecting my business. What happened with eBay? You had a negative, what happened? Why was it affecting your business?
Well, the way eBay works is they keep a card on file for all sellers. And in this scenario, they debited that card for the $1,000 for the safe. And when you're in arrears like that, you can't post anything anymore. So you didn't have a positive balance that would absorb that. You'd spent the money in PayPal already. So that's what your lost revenue claim due to frozen PayPal account is. But you're supposed to, if there's a return, there's a return. If you don't have any money, you don't have any money. If you had $1,000 that you hadn't spent, you could have put it in there, and then you could have kept doing business, right? Sure, absolutely. But again, this is right before COVID hit, and this was my only means of doing no contact sales. After this, it was all just Craigslist, and nobody wants to.
No, I get it. I get it, but it's unfortunate. The return is a valid return. Who's supposed to pay for that? You can't possibly think he's going to. You, Mr. Singh, didn't think you were going to, because you kept telling him, I will package it up, I will take my time, I will make it shipping ready, but you need to send me a prepaid slip. And he didn't do that, and here we are.
Welcome back to the People's Court. So this is an interesting situation. The plaintiff sold the defendant a safe. The defendant is saying the plaintiff never owned it, so he can't open it because he can't get the combination from the safe company. The plaintiff is saying this defendant is just impatient, and he knew that there would be issues that would take a while to resolve. This is a mess. We're going to find out who's right, who's wrong. Let's go back into the courtroom.
In this lawsuit, you are suing him for $1,000, the value of the safe, and $1,000 for the lost revenue. As far as lost revenue is concerned, that's on you, because you had no money to handle the PayPal return, and you should. And I realize why you didn't, but you can't possibly think somebody else is going to pay you for lost revenue, especially when they end up being right. And for the cost of the safe, I think you're wrong. I think that he should be able to make a return. And Mr. Singh, you are suing now for the shipping fees that you were ready to eat, which is unfortunate for you now, Mr. French. Now you want the shipping, because you paid for shipping the first time around, and you are suing for those shipping fees, but you're also suing for the inconvenience of storing a safe. You want another $200 for that? How do you figure?
Whatever's fair. Just
Yeah, no.
whatever's fair.
I'm not going to impose it. Yeah. All right. So here's what I think. In your lawsuit, Mr. French, against Mr. Singh, I'm finding in favor of Mr. Singh. On the counterclaim where Mr. Singh is suing you for the shipping fees, I am finding in favor of Mr. Singh on the shipping fees. You are going to have to pay for the shipping if you want to have that item returned to you. And before you sell it again, either stick to this is for parts, or I think it would be much wiser if you worked out with Tidell how to get it working again, and then you could sell it for a lot more than $1,000, because new this safe is like $6,000. But anyway, that's my advice to you. But my verdict in this case is a net judgment in favor of Mr. Singh for $500. Now, Mr. French, I am going to give you 2 weeks to get that safe over on your side. After 2 weeks, I am going to deem it to be abandoned property. That is my verdict.
So the judge finds for the defendant in this case, the plaintiff has to pay $500 to get that safe back. Mr. French, what's your reaction to the judge's decision?
Well, I listed it as for parts not working, and I don't know why that category exists, if not to explain that, it's not going to fully function without, it's not going to be plug and play. You're going to have to do some sort of legwork, and then it's his due diligence to know what that legwork is. So,
did you understand the decision? If you want that safe back, you have to pay the shipping fee to get it back. You have to give Mr. Singh $500.
I do understand, and initially I had considered taking it apart for the inner workings of it, which you can sell individually for way more than just $1,000. So I probably will pay for the shipping to have it back.
Okay, very good. And you got 2 weeks to do it, or it's his to do with what he wants. That's the judge's decision. All right, good luck to you. All right, Mr. Singh, how do you feel about this decision? You okay with it?
Yeah, it's a good decision.
Yeah, you wanted to ask the judge something. What did you want to ask her at the end of the case, the very end?
She already covered that. I needed to know
She did.
how long it's going to be before he gets it back, yes.
Okay, well, that's all right. The decision covers it. You have 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you can do with it what you want. It's your safe. And that's the decision. So congratulations. Now, let us join Judge Milian and her husband, Judge John, for another session of After the Verdict.
Most of your viewers are probably familiar with certain Latin phrases like caveat emptor, which means buyer beware. You hear it all the time, and often courts will mention it in their opinions. But in this case, it turned out to be a case of caveat venditor, or seller beware. Why don't you tell us again, what was it that was exactly wrong with the safe?
The problem with this, it didn't work at all. Like, it wouldn't open. He had to crack. That's why he was joking that I felt like I was trying to crack into a safe. And when he called the company said, well, wait a second, this is 7-Eleven safe.
Right.
So they wouldn't give him the passwords in order to open it. In order to get everything functioning, he needed the passwords.
And it's no good without a password.
No, you can't even get into it.
Essentially, and when I say seller beware, sellers need to know exactly what it is that they're selling. And in this instance, the guy was selling effectively a 316-pound paperweight, right?
Well, here's the thing, too. He really, his error was in, when you write the sentence underneath, should still work 100%.
Right.
You're trying to make it more attractive
Right.
for the buyer. You want this to get purchased. So you can't then avail yourself of, well, I listed it under a certain category that's this, if you're then giving a conflicting statement. That's what eBay found, and that's, I think, what I found. What did you think?
I agree. I mean, the mixed messages that were sent there were really the undoing for the seller. I mean, to say on the one hand, yeah, it should be 100% working and functioning, and then on the other hand, expect them to go up to the category and say, well, maybe not so much. I think, obviously, he should have known exactly what he was selling, and it just wasn't a useful item without that password.
Right. I mean, he couldn't even open it, much less get it working without the passwords. And they wouldn't give it to him unless they knew the provenance of how it got there.
There you have it. Seller beware.
Wow, Buffy, this is an interesting one. Well, I think the short answer is no. That if you paid for the wedding, you are simply paying for them to get married. You are not paying for the wedding and the marriage to last. And if it fell apart 5 months into the marriage, you don't have a dog in that fight. You may be upset about it, and you may be pissed off because you had this wedding, but you didn't vouch, or he didn't vouch, that this wedding was going to last forever despite his vows. So, you can be angry for sure, but you just don't have any recourse. Once the wedding is over, you have no rights in terms of getting anything back from your daughter or from him.